How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to an episode here on Let's Build Twitter. As always, I'm Ethan, or an Uncoder, your favorite underqualified senior software engineer. And as always, if you guys don't want access to their private repository, there is a link in the description down below that'll actually walk you through exactly how to get to that. But with that being said, let's go and hop into what we're working on today. So today, unfortunately, we're going to get a little bit of deja vu because our context that we set up last week didn't really work out for us. So we're going to go ahead and start out inside of a new slice we'll set up, and then we'll go ahead and make it so that we can go ahead and pop up the new message modal here. So we can go ahead and set up a new modal, and we'll be able to go ahead and close out of it and things like that. Unfortunately, I didn't get as much done as I wanted today, but we're going to go ahead and make it work. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop straight into the code and get to work here. So like I mentioned, we're going to be making a new slice to basically replace our context. So let's go into our redux, go into our slices, go ahead and create a message slice. And I think the issue that we were having is that it was a little bit more complicated than I thought, and I needed to use providers in more than one place. And the way that it was kind of working, state was updating in like one component that was using the provider, but state wasn't updating in another place that was using a provider. So I'm wondering if I just don't know React well enough, and basically the state wasn't being shared between the two different providers. They're basically more or less two providers. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and use a redux slice because that wraps the entire context of the application, or it's basically global. So that's going to be the thing. So I didn't really want to make the message context global in the first place, so I'd rather just do it like this. But let's go and hop into that. That's enough yapping. So let's go ahead and first create an interface. So interface, and this is going to be message slice state. And this is going to be very similar to our old context. So we're going to have unread messages, which is going to be an I notification array. We'll need to go ahead and bring in notifications. We're going to have pop-up open to go ahead and signify whether our message pop-up is open. So this is going to be a Boolean. We're going to need conversation open, which is a Boolean. We'll need to add like a conversation object eventually. I'm thinking maybe like next episode, we'll start thinking about how we want to deal with conversations. We'll have a conversation users, which is a number. So this is going to be basically who we're selecting to talk to inside of a conversation whenever we create a new one. This one might get renamed. It is what it is. We'll say const initial state, and this is going to be a message slice state equal to, and here are unread messages will be an empty array to start out as the initial state. Our pop-up open will obviously be false. We don't want the pop-up open. We're going to have conversation open as false as well. And then conversation users will also be an empty string or an empty array because we don't have anyone. So let's go ahead and import our notifications. So import, our notification as I notification from, and this is going to be from our utils. So we just have to go back a couple times, go to our utils, and then our global interfaces. There we go. And then unread messages, I typoed. So let's go ahead and fix that. And there we go. So now we have our interface for message slice as well as our initial state. I'm going to go ahead and export const and then message slice. And this will equal to create slice, which we'll need to go ahead and bring in. And then we are good to go there. So here I have a name, which we'll call message. And then we'll have our initial state. And then finally, we'll have our reducers. So reducers are pretty simple as well. We'll have some async ones probably in the future once we start getting a little bit farther, like after next episode. But for now, we'll just have toggle pop-up. And this is just going to take in the state. And I'm going to basically just toggle it between true and false. So state is equal to ... state. And then our pop-up open will be not state.popup, open. And then we will go ahead and return the state. Make sure we don't forget that. That always gets me. And then we'll have open conversation. So this one should all probably be actually called like toggle conversation, but it can't be because we have to actually pass in the users. So that makes sense. So this one actually have an action, which is a payload action, and this is going to be a number array. So we're going to basically pass in the user's IDs that we're starting a conversation with, and this was set up in the context as well. So we're basically just continuing on here. So state is equal to ... state, and then here we want to open up the conversation. So conversation open is not equal to state dot conversation open, and then we'll go ahead and return the state. And then as we get a little bit farther, whenever we can actually create conversations in the backend, what we'll go ahead and do is we'll also create a conversation or do something with this with the conversation in the users. So this might end up being a reducer that's async reducer, so that might change, or an async thunk. And then finally I have update conversation users. So we're gonna need a way to keep track of who we're saying to basically conversate with. So this will be payload action number array. So it's going to be like whenever we're trying to create a conversation and we select different people. So state is equal to dot 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 state, and then we'll have a conversation users will be equal to dot 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 state dot conversation users. So we might have already had some people selected, and then dot 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 action dot payload. So then we'll go ahead and break apart those arrays, and we pass an array. So that's why we're breaking that apart. Return the state, and that's good to go. That's basically all of our reducers for now. So again, this one was pretty quick. We have a lot of updating to do, unfortunately, but we'll say export const, go ahead and return the toggle pop-up. We'll go ahead and return the open conversation. We'll go ahead and return update. And I don't know that we didn't bring in update unread messages, or I missed it. I think I just skipped over it. I'll bring that in a second. So update unread messages, because we need a way to actually bring in those unread messages, and then update conversation users, whoops, it's equal to message slice dot actions, and it's going to be mad at us because we missed this update unread messages, and I want to right here update unread messages, and I believe here it's kind of a state and an action, which is a payload. Whoops. I could type payload action, and this will be an I notification array. And here we're just going to say state is equal to dot 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 state, and then we'll have our unread messages will equal to, and I think here, I don't know if I want to add them or just replace them. I think I just want to straight up replace these. So I'm going to say action.payload. Whoops. And we'll go ahead and return the state and fix this. And I spelled payload action incorrect, so let's fix that. So this will also allow us to bring in those notifications so we can notify the user you have unread messages. And then we need to go ahead and actually export this reducer. So we'll say export the default, and then this will be message slice dot reducer. Now originally I was going to go into the notification slice here, but that's not going to work until we actually go into the store. So let's go into the Redux store, and we need to go ahead and bring in our notification, or not notification, our message slice. So let's just import our message reducer from, and this is going to be /slices message slice. And we need to go ahead and bring this in underneath of our notification. Otherwise, when we try to do next, it's just going to break. So we're going to say message will be message reducer. And now what we can go ahead and do is we can go into the notification slice, and we have that update unread messages. We need to get the unread message notifications from our notification reducer whenever we grab them inside of our initial load up here. We'll probably need to maybe later on do some more work inside notification slice to get them as they come in and receive them, but we'll deal with that in a second. Or I can go into the wherever we do the hook for it, but that's getting away from what we need to do today. Let's go into our notification slice. So inside of our notification slice, we're going to come down into where we are loading in our notifications. And here, before we actually return the data, we're going to go ahead and say const data is a notification array, and it's going to be equal to rec.data. And this is going to be mad about rec.data. So let's just go ahead and return data here, just so we don't forget. So we're going to go ahead and intercept this data before we actually do anything with this. I'm going to say const unread messages is a notification array equal to data.filter. And we're going to go ahead and filter out by notification. So notification, and this is going to be not notification.acknowledged. So if it's not acknowledged and our notification type is equal to message, we're basically going to make a list of all the unread message notifications, and we're going to call our thunk API state.dispatch, and we can actually go ahead and dispatch and update unread messages. And hopefully this actually brings it in. Of course, it's not going to update unread messages. I'll go ahead and just bring it in myself, pass in those unread messages, and we can go ahead and import this from our other slice. So here we'll import update, unread messages from // and this can be slices / message slice, and that should turn itself around. And then we'll go ahead and just return the data. So basically, before we actually deal with the data inside of our message or our notification slice, we'll go ahead and send over those unread message notifications over to our message slice that we can say, hey, there's messages here. So that's pretty good as well. Now there's one more thing that we need to do. We need to go ahead and update all of the components we created last episode to use this new slice rather than our context. So let's start out inside our messages pop-up. So here we're going to obviously get rid of this context, and it's going to get mad at us. Go ahead and get rid of this, then get rid of use context. And what we're going to do instead, we're going to go ahead and say const message state equal to use selector. And I probably could have called this something other than message state, but it is what it is. This will be root state, and then this will be state.message. And then what we can go ahead and do is we can basically change all these open and things like that. So here, this will be message state .popup open. Here we'll have message state, and I missed it open up there, message state .conversation open, and then here we'll also have a message state .popup open. So that will deal with that. And then we need to go ahead and deal with the messages bar as well and use that redux state. So let's go into our messages bar. So here in our messages bar, once again, I'm going to get rid of everything that has to do with the context. So we'll go up in here and get rid of the use context. And then down here, once again, we're going to go ahead and say const, message state is equal to use selector, bring that in. And this will be state root state, and this will be state.message. So we'll bring in that message state. We're also going to have an app dispatch. So const dispatch, app dispatch, if I could type, that'd be cool, equal to use dispatch, like so. And then we can go ahead and we need to create a couple of functions here to change this. So const create message. This is a little bit misleading. This should probably be called like open create message or something, but this will be React mouse event on an HTML div element. And here, what we'll go ahead and do is we're going to e.prevent default. That way we don't just basically open it. We'll just say dispatch, and we're going to go ahead and dispatch update. And I think we might have missed this part, update display create message. So I think we missed one more thing to do inside of Reducer. We'll have to deal with this in a second. This isn't going to exist, so we'll fix that. We'll say const toggle. This one should exist. So toggle, we'll go ahead and say dispatch, and this is going to be toggle popup. We need to make sure we grab this from our message slice like that, otherwise it's not going to work. So now let's go and just update this stuff. So here, unread messages.length is actually going to be our message state.unread messages.length, and then toggle popup is just going to be toggle now. So let's go ahead and do that. And then here, once again, we will have our message state.unread messages. So message state.unread messages.length, and then finally we'll have here, we'll have our message state.popup open question mark. And then basically on our create message icon wrapper, we're going to have an on click here, and the on click will equal to create message, except create message is broken because we actually need to create this update display create message. I don't know how I missed this. Maybe I just scrolled over it on accident, or I put it farther down than I needed to. I just didn't quite do this in the right order. So we need to go ahead and fix this actually. So let's go into our modal slice here, and inside of our modal slice, we're going to do what we do typically. So we'll have a display, and this will be, I think I'm going to call this create message, which is Boolean. We'll come down to our initial state and update this. So we'll have our display, create message, which starts out as false. We'll come down here, and this is the mess. We should probably refactor this at some point, but it's fine now. This will be update display display create message, which takes in, this one just takes in a state, and we'll say state is equal to dot 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 state, and display create message is equal to not state dot display create message, return the state. And what did we break here? Whoops, accidentally put a colon. Fix that up. Okay, now what's the issue? It's just being slow. That's fine. Then go ahead and add this down here. So update display create message. Now if we go back into our pop-up, we should, or our message bar, we should be able to fix this. So here we should be able to import this now. We won't be able to see anything yet, but there we go. And now this is gonna stop being man. So now let's go ahead and kind of just fix up the rest of the stuff that we need to do. So let's go into the layout page and get rid of the context provider. So we do not need the context provider from here. And then we're gonna go ahead and get rid of the context messaging provider and go ahead and format that to make it look pretty. And now we should be good to go, because I don't think that we used the context anywhere else. We can also go ahead and go into our features and go into our messaging and just delete this context. Sadly, unfortunately, a lot of work that we did last episode down the drain, but it is what it is. Let's just make sure everything's still working as expected. So hopefully I didn't miss anything that's supposed to be deleted. We click on this, it opens, we click on it, it closes. So this is still working as expected. Now what we need to do is whenever we click on this, it'll open up the modal and we'll be on our way. I don't really like that it's still open and close that, so something isn't quite working there, but we'll figure that out. So let's go back into the code here. So I'm gonna go back into our message pop-up just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Actually, it'll be messages bar. So we do have e.prevent default and we are dispatching. So maybe we just, since it's not doing anything right now, we just let it cook and we'll continue here. So now let's actually get into creating the message modal. So let's go back in here. Instead of our components for messaging, we'll go ahead and say, we call this create message modal / create message modal.tsx. Since we're going to be using the bottomless modal component, we don't need any CSS. So just import React from React, export const create message modal. This will be react.fc, and we'll go ahead and do this. Whoops, not that. We'll go ahead and return, and we're going to return a bottomless modal where our top bar will start out equal to a fragment. We'll just say top bar for now, and then our content will equal to a fragment as well that we'll get to at a later date. And this will be create message modal content. There we go. So now we have our create message modal. And now what we can go and do is we can actually go ahead and display this whenever we are clicking on that. So let's go into our modal container. So inside of our modal container, we'll come down here and add a const display create message equal to use selector state and root states. And then this will be state.modal.display create message, which just happens to be the top one. We're going to have to do some interesting state logic later on because there's a create group that kind of pops up and closes this create message. So that'll be interesting. But for now, this is fine. I don't know what's going on. Create message modal. Like so, save that. So now theoretically, whenever we open and close this, it should actually open and close a modal. So let's try that out really quick. So if we just give this a refresh and we open this, we'll be able to click on this. We have the modal, and I'm not sure why our prevent default. Oh, it's because I put prevent default and not stop propagation. Let's go back in the message bar one more time. So this should be stop propagation. That's why it's acting weird. And now if we try again, there we go. That's what we want. So we don't have any way to close it. We don't have any way to actually create a conversation. So to wrap up this episode, we're going to go ahead and just make the top bar. The next episode, start working on the content inside. Also, I need to figure out how to basically lock this from scrolling because this is obviously no bueno, but we'll deal with that in a different bug fixing episode. So let's go back into the code and create the top bar, get it styled, and then call it an episode here. So back into our Explorer, we go into our messaging components, and this is going to be create message modal top bar. Actually, I just call it top. So create message modal top.tsx. And we'll also do create message modal top.css. Let's go into the component. So we'll import React from React. We're also going to go ahead and import a close icon just because it's going to be a pain to go ahead and grab. So close from there. We'll also go ahead and import our // and this is going to be create modal message modal top.css, so that way I don't forget. Export const create message modal top, and this isn't going to take anything in, so this will be React fc arrow function. This is going to be pretty simple. So first we'll say const, and we'll set up our conversation users is equal to use selector. So we're going to get a little bit more fine grained on this one. State root state, and this will be state dot message dot conversation users, and this is going to be so we can actually call that create conversation. We'll also go ahead and const dispatch, and this will be an app dispatch equal to use dispatch. So this is gonna have to expand the functionalities eventually, but for now it's fine. Go ahead and create message thread equal to e, which is a react.mouse event. And again, this one, I don't remember what type of element it was on, so it's gonna go ahead and say e.propagation, and we're gonna go ahead and dispatch, and this is gonna be update, display, and I'm pretty sure we want create message here, so we'll go ahead and close out of this message. We'll dispatch, and we'll go ahead and toggle popup, toggle popup. So we'll go ahead and open up the message popup, and we'll dispatch, and then open conversation, like so. So eventually our open conversation will be a little bit different, and open conversation needs our conversation users. And then we'll also go ahead and say const close modal is equal to nothing, and this one will literally just go ahead and dispatch and update display create message. So we'll go ahead and just close out of this if we want to. So now it's mad as we're not returning anything, so let's go ahead and return our div. So here we'll have a div with a class name equal to create dash message dash modal top, and inside of our div we'll have another div, class name equal to create dash message dash modal top, and then this is going to be the right side. So this is where we're going to have our close icon as well as our header. So this would be div class name equal to create dash message dash modal top close wrapper. And before I scratch my head debugging, let's go ahead and fix that. So this will be our close icon. So we'll close and sx equal to, and we're just going to have a font size on this guy of 20px. So that one is simple enough. So whenever we close it and we want an on close on this or an on click, so on click on this guy will be close modal. So whenever we click on the close icon, we'll close the modal. We'll also have an h2, the class name equal to create dash message modal top in our header. Here we'll just have new message. And then outside of our top right, we'll just have a button. So a button, class name equal to, and this is going to be conversation users. So do we have conversation users dot length greater than 0? If we do, we'll have create dash message dash modal, like a type dash next button dash active. If I would have used like CSS, I don't know what they're called, modals or modules. I'm sorry, my goodness. We could have prevented a lot of reused code. So maybe next time around we'll do that. But this would be create message modal and next dash button deactive. And then below that we'll have disabled equal to conversation users dot length equal to 0. And finally we'll have on click equal to create message thread. And let's actually bring this class name down here. And then finally, we'll go ahead and close out this button. And then here, we'll go ahead and have next. So that is our entire style here, or our entire top component here. Let's go ahead and style it to bring it in, take a look at it, and then wrap up the episode. So let's go into the style. First, we'll have dot create message modal top, and hopefully I spelled everything right. Width 100%, height 53 px. We'll have padding of 16 px. We'll have a display of flex, justify content. That's going to be space between, and finally align items in the center. That's going to be like our main top content dash create dash message modal top dash right. So this is the top right cluster. This is actually supposed to be top left. I guess it'll be an Easter egg. Display flex, and this will be justify content in the flex start. And we'll have align items in the center, and we'll have a gap of 32 px. We'll have our dot create dash message modal top, and this will be our close wrapper. Here we'll have our width of 30 px. We'll have a height of 30 px. We're gonna have a border radius of 100%. We will have a display of flex. I think I missed border none at some point. I'll fix that. Justify content in the center, align items in the center. And let's just be safe and put a border none on this. We'll have our dot create dash message modal top maybe dash close dash wrapper hover, and here we'll have a cursor of pointer so they know they can click on it, and then a background color of RGBA 0 0 0 and then 0.1. So there is our hover effect for our close icon. Now we'll do our dot create dash message modal top and then header. If I could type, that'd be great. Here we'll have a margin of 0, a padding of 0, and then a font dash size of 20 px, and a font dash weight of 900. And then we'll have a dot create dash message dash modal top dash button dash active. Oh my goodness, I am falling off the rails here. So unfortunately there's some duplicate code here. Width 64 px. We're gonna have our height as 32 px. We're gonna have a border of none. Border dash radius will be 16 px. We're going to have a background dash color of black. We'll have a color of white, and then a font dash size maybe of 14 px, a font dash weight of 800, and whenever it's active, I have a cursor pointer. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to make this quick. Create message modal. I don't think we actually put top on this. We can go in and fix that. Top button dash deactive. So the button's not even gonna work right now, but we'll go ahead and take the width, border, all of this stuff because it's the same, and paste that in there. And then also our font size, font weight are also the same. So let's go ahead and grab those as well. Again, like I said, unfortunately, it's a lot of reused code. I should use like CSS modules, but I'm sure I have an active somewhere and a deactive somewhere that'll just go ahead and break this completely. So here, our background color will be RGBA of 0 0 0.5, and then we're gonna have a color of white. So I'm guessing we could have probably kept the color of white, and I think that's everything. We'll start with the font weight, font size, border none, all that stuff. So let's go back in here and actually add top to the button because I think I forgot that inside of our actual component. So here we'll go ahead and add modal top dash next, and hopefully I remember the next modal top.next. And let me just double check the CSS that I put the next in there. I forgot the next button, top next button, and top next button. I thought that I did. That should be everything, fingers crossed. So let's go ahead and go into our create message modal and bring this in. And now instead of the top bar being a fragment called top bar, we'll actually bring in the create message modal top. So create message modal top. It doesn't take anything in. You can save that. And now let's see if I need to do any bugging really quick before we wrap up the episode. So there we have it. It looks pretty good. So as you can see, when we don't have any users, it's going to be kind of grayed out. We can go ahead and close out of it. We go and open it back up. But if we go back into Slash really quick and add in like a user, whenever we load in, this should go ahead and light up. So let's go ahead and try that out. So inside of our message slice, let's go up to where we are setting up like our initial state. And let's say that our initial conversation users is a user ID 1, and we go back into our front end. Now, if we just refresh, we probably don't have to, and we go into create messages, you can see it says next, we hit next, and then it pops up the conversation that we're in. So that's going to be it this episode. Unfortunately, I did want to do more, but that context kind of screwed things up. But anyway, guys, if you did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That definitely helps out here with the YouTube algorithm. Next episode, we'll continue working on that pop-up modal, or maybe in the back end to get conversations working. But as always, if you guys do want to see kind of like from the start to now, there should be a playlist somewhere on my channel or in the description. And anyway, guys, this has been Ethan or Unknown Coder. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.